for introducing yourself. If you are not speaking, just go on mute. So we have about 45 minutes or 50 minutes for the session today. First question to all of you, whoever is new, have you gone through all the recordings that we have on the OneDrive that we shared?
Yes, Nishant, I couldn't, but I'll do it today.
Fine. So it will be helpful because if you go through it, it will let you know what all has been covered till now. And the link was shared in WhatsApp. If still somebody doesn't have the link, Ranjit can share it here also. Ranjit, maybe you can just paste it here so that people have easy access. And if anyone is not able to access it, you can ask Ranjit to give you the access. Okay, that was the first point. The second point is based on the last session, are there any questions? So I can take like 10 minutes to answer those questions. No questions at all? Okay, fine. Okay, then I had asked one question on Reliance. Did everyone go through that question at least? Did you understand the question first? Did everyone understand what my question was on the group?
Yes, I did.
Not to the core, sorry.
Okay. Okay, so let me explain the context and the question. So the context is basically I want people to also think about the markets and do some homework and do their own research. From the group profile that people are here, I know that some people have been investing in markets. Some people have also worked in the trading and stuff like that. So I would expect people to have some knowledge. For some of you, you may be very raw. For you, I can understand that you may not be able to get much. And for everybody, I want you to read and do some research for this session. That's when the value add will be there. At least that's my way of thinking. If you guys have some suggestions, please feel free to talk to me one-to-one, or if you want to talk to me in the group, that's also fine. So in terms of the question, basically Reliance is going for a rights issue. As far as my understanding is concerned, the last time they did it was in 1992, not necessarily a rights issue, but basically when they raised money from the public. So there are many ways to raise money from the public. There is something called a follow-on public offer. There can be a rights issue. There can be convertible debentures, and a lot of other options are there. So my question was basically why. First question is why is Reliance going for a rights issue and not for some other option? And two, why now? Why not 6 months from now? Why not 1 year from now? Why not 2 years from now? So there are 3-4 key reasons I'm looking for. So a couple of reasons Neha did say on the chat, and I did have a conversation with Ranjit where he was also going on the right track. So maybe anybody who wants to take the question. First question is why the rights issue now? What is the key purpose for going for a rights issue?
Yeah, so I can probably add something to it. So why they are going for a rights issue is that Mukesh Ambani said, I think sometimes 8 or 9 months back, that they want to have a debt-free company, and currently probably they are sitting at 1,60,000 crores of debt, and that's why they want to raise some money to have their debt reduced to eventually to zero by I think March 2021. So that's probably one of the reasons.
That is correct, Nimit. So did everyone understand this? Guys, the question is for everyone other than Nimit. So there are 6 more people.
I understood this point, Nishant, but I could not understand that what are the other options? What are the other options with which he would have compared in order to decide that he would go for rights issue? Because what I read, I could understand generally this is like the last option which companies take to raise money. So if if that's what I mean, like, why is it really considered as compared to other options? Why is it really considered the last option? And if that is correct, but and also, what is the real impact of raising money in this pandemic? I mean, this is more of a special situation. So, how does it make? How does it make? How does it make it relevant in this particular time?
We will answer this, Neha. So basically, we will answer this. So these are the questions that I wanted people to think about and find answers to. So, but what Nimit explained is one, that Reliance has a debt of 1,60,000 crores odd. I'm just trying to pull up that exact figure. 1,53,700 crores. And as he said, it was one of the commitment of Kesh to bring it to zero. Now, can somebody tell me why he wants to bring it to zero? What happens with the debt? Guys, come on, it's okay. There is no right or wrong answer. Please speak up. We are all here to learn. Nobody will judge you. See, anyways, we are virtual. So it's anyways difficult to interact. So people have to speak.
Yeah, probably why part I'm really not sure why Mukesh Ambani decided to go on the deep
Nimit,
zero, but definitely.
Nimit, right? Yeah, Nimit, just once again, let others speak up. Guys,
Sure.
try, please.
I think balance sheet goes to positive, and this gives some kind of confidence in the market, so that many guys might start investing on it.
No, confidence in the market, fine. Balance sheet positive, it's like a sentiment, okay. But why?
They don't, and and I also read somewhere it gives some kind of positive boost
against
competitors in the market.
Is debt free?
No,
never.
So basically, we are looking at 1,53,700 crores, right? So are they paying any interest on it?
They are
Say
not.
10% they are paying as interest. We can go to the balance sheet and check how much they paid last year. But say 10% they are paying. So that's 15,000 crores as interest every year. So that much money they can save, na?
And also the governments will review their policy to probably increase interest rates to control inflation.
No, actually interest rates will go down across the world, even in India. But still for a company, it's always good.
Okay.
It's always good to have low interest rates. Even in India now, interest rates will hover around 6 to 7%. So Reliance can actually borrow all the money from Indian banks at 6%. I just took a haphazard number of 10% just to make people understand that interest is paid. Who's this? Ranjit, don't open all this. Let's discuss now. Don't open the balance sheet and all. Discuss later. So basically, one is the interest cost. Okay, so to save on interest cost, he wants to cut down on debt, because at any time a company which has a large amount of debt is under risk. So there is also something called a debt equity ratio, where basically if my own money, equity is my own money. So if my equity is 100 or 100 crores, debt should not be more than 100 crores, 1:1. That is a good practice. But for Reliance, the equity will be probably much less than 1,53,000 crores. It will be somewhere around maybe 20-30,000 crores. Again, we'll have to check the balance sheet. The debt equity ratio is very high, which is not very good or a sign of a healthy company. And this debt was built up because he invested a lot of money in Jio. So that is why he's trying to reduce this debt. And in order to reduce this debt, that is why he has sold that 10% to Facebook, which is worth 43,000 crores. That 43,000 crores he will use to repay his debt of 1,53,700 crores. So which will come down to 1,10,000 crores. He also wanted to sell a stake to Saudi Aramco, which is the largest player in the Saudi Arabia market. It's the largest oil major in the world, about $2 trillion worth. But that did not get approved because of valuation, because of Indian government interference and a lot of geopolitical issues. And now with the crude down, I'm sure Saudi Aramco values would have also come down. So they may not be interested. So basically, his goal is to bring it to zero, and his stated goal was March 2021. And when a person like him makes a commitment, if he does not keep his word, I think last I checked, Reliance had 4 lakh shareholders or something like that. So people will stop to trust him, and that is something that the Ambanis never want. Okay. Now, Neha, can you remind me your questions? You had a couple of questions.
Yes.
But like before we go ahead, is everyone clear with what all I said?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, so my question was also that now one thing which I understood was that he wants to reduce his debt, which is which is important for him, and also while my question was more that in this pandemic, in this particular situation, how does it make more sense to have a rights issue, and why didn't he go for other options?
Okay, that was my question actually. So why he has gone for a right issue is basically, see, in a rights issue, what happens is, let me, before making it a little more complicated, let me try to explain in a simplest way. So in a right issue, what will happen is, say currently there are 3 lakh shareholders. So each shareholder, based on the number of shares they hold, they will get rights issue. So for example, if I am holding 100 share, for every 1 share I hold, I will get a chance to buy 1 rights. I will get 1 right, and for 1 right, I will get 1 share. So basically, in short, it will be a ratio of 1:1. It can be different, but I'm just giving a very simplified example. So for every 1 share, I can get 2 rights, and for every 2 rights, I can get every 1 right, I can get 2 shares. So for 2 rights, 1 share. So current 1 share becomes 4 more share. So that all ratio is possible. Basically, it will be proportionate. So if I hold 100 shares, I can buy 100 more shares. If I hold 500 shares, I can buy 500 more shares. If I have 2,000 shares, I can buy 2,000 more shares. What happens in this thing is, Mukesh Ambani, if he holds 5 crore shares of Reliance as of today, he can also buy 5 crore shares more. And it is not going to be issued to the public. He will have the right to buy those 5 crore shares. Now, he can always say that I don't have the money to buy 5 crore shares, and then it will be offered to others. But in this case, Mukesh Ambani will not do that. He will find the money to buy those 5 crore shares. What will happen with this is basically his shareholding will not reduce. So if today Mukesh Ambani owns 50% of the shares, after this issue, he will continue to hold 50% of the shares. And this can only be guaranteed through a right issue. If he had done a follow-on public offer, he could not have guaranteed that. Because in a follow-on public offer, all the shares will be offered to the public and anyone can buy any as much as they want. And even new shareholders can buy. So even if I hold 0 shares in Reliance today, if it was a FPO, I could have bought 10 shares. Even if somebody
So he'll
has,
dilute his stake. Okay.
so his share would have been diluted if he did not go for a rights issue. So to ensure that he continues to have the same percentage, he is going for a rights issue. This was the point I wanted somebody to research and come, but unfortunately nobody did it. But this was not very difficult to find. This is one of the key reasons any company goes for a rights issue. Ensure that the promoter shareholding is not diluted.
Okay. I reached to this
And
point of that the public offers, but I could not understand that Mukesh Ambani can also. I mean, it is the share. It is also impacting the shares of Mukesh Ambani.
Obviously, right? See, if today there are total 1 crore shares in the market, and he owns 50 lakhs. If Reliance issues another 1 crore new shares, and out of those 1 crore new shares, Mukesh Ambani buys nothing. So currently he owns 50 lakhs out of 1 crore. So he owns 50% shares. In the new scenario, there will be total 2 crore shares. So 50 lakh out of 2 crore will be 25%.
Okay.
And in the new scenario, again, he could have bought it from the market, but there is no guarantee he would have bought it, because if the new scenario, they were issuing 1 crore shares, and knowing Reliance, the market demand could have been higher. The market demand could have been 5 crore shares. So anybody who applied for 5 lakh could have got only 50,000. So that way, Ambani would not be guaranteed that he can retain his 50% stake.
Okay.
so Nishant, in this scenario, the target amount which he's trying to get from the market, which is 53,000 crore or something, he will not going to get that money, right? He will going to get less because he is also investing in that.
No, he will get that, right? Reliance is different and Mukesh Ambani is different, right? So he currently, whatever share he has in Reliance is worth X amount, whatever 3 lakh crore or 4 lakh crore. But the new amount that Reliance as a company will be raising is say 60,000 crores. So if Mukesh Ambani wants to retain his shareholding of 50%, he has to invest 30,000 crores. He will find the money from somewhere. From where, I don't know, but he will find the money.
Huh?
Okay, makes sense.
So basically, Reliance will get its 60,000 crores. See, always remember, in the corporate world, a company in itself is a legal entity, as per company law. So Reliance is separate from Mukesh Ambani. He is just like any other shareholder, just that he owns much more shares than you and me. But as a equal partner, he is also a shareholder. I am also a shareholder. But each share has one vote, so his voting power is higher. But for the company, he is also shareholder. I am also shareholder. And he also occupies the post of CEO. That is a different position. That is his working position. Is this clear to everyone? The whole concept?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's go a little deeper. So Akash and Ranjit, I expect you guys to answer this question. Ranjit, I explained you a little bit in the morning, so let's see how much you researched. So basically, listen to me very carefully, okay? Currently, the market cap, now I'm assuming that all of you guys are familiar with these terms. So currently, the market cap of Reliance is 100. Let's assume. Okay? The number of shares in the market is 10. What is the price of each share?
10.
Now, theoretically, after the rights issue, will that market cap of Reliance change from 100? Will it go up, down? It will remain constant.
It will remain constant.
Reason?
Because it depends on some outstanding shareholders. I think it doesn't really.
No. So what is market cap a function of? Come on, guys. This is the 6th session.
I can help. I can try, Nishant, if you are okay with that.
Go on. If nobody is speaking.
So basically, yeah. So basically, since this rights issue, after this rights issue, the price of the shares will be diluted. Eventually, the price will be going down of the Reliance shares. Thereby, the number of shares will increase, but the price will come down. So eventually, the market capitalization would be same. That's what my understanding is.
Yeah, but you got it wrong. You explained it ulta. You got it correct. The answer is correct, but the way to look at it is, see, basically, first, what happens after the rights issue? Will the my question was, what is market cap is a function of what?
It's
Number
a total
of share
asset.
and the price of the share.
No, that is a formula how we calculate, right? But market cap is based on what?
I think it's the total amount of money required to buy whole of Reliance.
Correct, but what is it based on? So how does that market cap come? So market cap is a direct function of profit, isn't it? So if Reliance is making profit of 10, its market cap is 100. If Reliance will make a profit of 20, market cap will be 200. If Reliance will make a profit of 30, market cap will be 300. So basically, market cap is a function of profit and the P ratio that the market assigns to it. Basically, earnings per share and PE ratio, what we discussed in detail in previous class. But when you look at it as a holistically, market cap is basically a function of profit and the expectation of profit growth. So after the rights issue, profit will not go up suddenly, right? Once they get the money, they will repay the debt, and then maybe in the next quarter or after 2 quarters, the profit may increase. So immediately the market cap will not be impacted. So now just I explained that the market cap is 100. the market cap is 100, the number of shares is 10, and the EPS is also 10. So now in future, after the rights issue, the market cap will remain at 10. Now, for example, say, I don't know how much rights he will issue based on the number of shares, but say hypothetically, for every 10 shares, he issues another 10 more. So the number of shares will double to 20. Basically, your profit will, your price per share will come down to 5. So for current shareholders, their price will come down. This is very important. This is what makes people little jittery for rights issues. So this is one side effect. But then in the real world, it doesn't come down to 5. It may go up to 7 or 8. Because your P increases and all that, because people think that, okay, he's doing the rights issue to retire the debt, which is a positive for the company. So the total value of the company actually goes up. So in net, the shareholders gain because the total market cap itself goes up. And also as a shareholder, although the share price has halved, but if I have subscribed to the new rights, I will have double the shares. So net, I will gain. If not immediately, maybe in a year's time or so. Did this make sense?
It's clear, but I have one more question here. As per definition of market cap, it says outstanding number of outstanding shares. So if a new shares are introduced to the market, but how does it impact to the other guys like who are buying in the market? So how they do say feel any difference, or only the guys who already hold the shareholders will see the difference in the price?
No. Market price will change for everybody. Basically, there will be some cutoff date. So as on that cutoff date, if you hold shares, then only you will get the rights. So all that will be announced. So that is called a record date and all that. Okay. This was what I wanted to cover, and I will try to give some these kind of things in future also. So I would like people to research more and come. That's okay. Today is first session for some of you, and basically see, just put in some effort to do some research. That's okay, and then we will brainstorm and find the best possible solution. Any other questions from previous session?
Anup,
Okay. Okay. Ranjit, let me pull up Bank of Baroda. I will try to share my screen also.
If you want, you can give me the link. I can open it here. Or
You want to do it? Okay, fine. I'll give you the link.
because performance will be, I think it will be good.
Okay, for some of you who are new, I'm just going to the Bank of Baroda website, and there usually there will be a section called Investor Relations. So from there, I can get the balance sheet. I will just pull for the latest quarter, which will be Jan, Feb, March 2020. If I don't get for that, I will pull up the previous quarter, which will be October, November, December.
Nishant, can you share the link?
Yeah, I'm just opening it. I will share it.
Okay.
Guys, it's taking 2-3 minutes to pull it up. In case you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Hello everyone, this is Akash. So I don't have a question, but I would just want to make a point that I have already put it on WhatsApp group. I have made a list, like an Excel sheet of like the points which needs to be discussed. Like in the previous sessions, we had some points. Let's say like derivatives. I think was the point bonus, and all of these points we discussed, Nishant, that we will be discussing in the future sessions. So I've made a Excel sheet in which we can just on adding it. Accordingly, we can discuss it in the future.
Sure. So, Nishant, I have one question. It is a bit of off topic, and probably you can take it later as well. You don't have to take it right now. But since you work for the big investment banking companies, so what are their take on the cryptocurrencies?
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
This is not pulling up. What was the other company on that list? Okay, something has come up. Guys have not published their Q4 results. But yeah, by and large, it will be very difficult for cryptocurrencies limit, because basically no country will allow it. Because today the countries control the economy, the government of a country controls the economy by printing currency. So if they allow other people to take control, it will be very difficult. Go slowly, Ranjit. Fine. You want to maximize it.
It's visible?
Yeah. Just go down. It's typing so fast. Little up, little up. From here we can discuss. So here they are talking about operating profit. We only have 20 minutes. Okay, let's see how much we can cover. So they had operating profit. I think it's for quarter only. For 3 months, it was 4,958 crores, which was year-on-year growth of 8.5, which means October, November, December 2019, they had 4,958, and October, November, December 2018, it grew by 8.5%. So whatever will come, 4,800.
Hi, Nishant. Are you sharing something?
Yeah, it's being shared, right? Ranjit has shared.
I don't see anything.
I think it's showing now. I don't know. You guys can't see the screen?
No, I can see the screen. Now it
Yeah, I
disappeared.
can see the screen.
Me too.
What
I can
about
see you.
others?
Yeah, I can see.
Strange, I cannot see anything.
Are you on a mobile by any chance?
No, on my laptop.
Okay. Can everyone see?
Yes, I can see.
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
I can.
Except Neha, anyone has issue?
Strange. I will log off and I will connect again maybe.
Yeah, okay. Ranjit, make it full screen, na?
Okay.
Okay. Cool. I can see it very well. Everybody is able to see, right?
Yep. I think
Yes.
so.
Yes.
Okay. The next one is net interest margin. So these all we discussed some of these terminology. Does someone want to take it up? What is net interest margin for the new guys who are here?
Okay, I'm back now.
Maybe somebody can try to explain first line with all the details. For people who attended the last class, this is I think Neha, Nimit,
Yeah.
Akash, Ranjit.
You want me to explain for first one or second one?
First line.
I can go, Nishant, if you are okay.
Yeah, go.
Okay, so operating profit for December 19 increased to rupees 4,958 crores, registering year-on-year growth of 8.5%. This means that the operating profit has grown for December 19 for this much amount year-on-year basis. It means that in December 2018, let's say the profit was zero, but in December 2019 the profit was this, which is an 8.5% growth from December 2018. So that was it means. Non-interest income increased by 28%, which again and they are bifurcating that what is the actual increase in the different areas of their operations. So non-interest related income got increased by 28%. Fee income probably could be something related to locker fee or some other fees, like when you create demand drafts, bank asks for some fees. When you do some overdraft limits, they ask for some fees. That income increased by 10%, and net loss of rupees 1,407 crores due to higher provisions. And higher provision means that the provisioning which are being created because of the NPAs or something else. Basically that has been the total net loss during the December 2019. And I believe that this is for the quarter and not only for the December 2019. This is for the whole quarter from November till December 2019.
Yes, correct. So it is for 3 months. So basically compared to October, November, December 2018, it has increased by 8.5%, which is your total operating income. Operating income means interest income, non-interest income, and fee income. But even though the operating income is almost 5,000 crores, still there is a net loss, which means the provisions are very high, which means they're expecting a lot of the loans that they made will not come back. And this is the problem with public sector banks. And now, if you try to correlate this with HDFC Bank, their growth was much higher, somewhere in the range of 20+%. So here only you can see a difference between what is the difference between a Bank of Baroda and an HDFC Bank. That HDFC Bank is growing at 20% and these guys are growing only at 8%. And even after provisions, HDFC Bank was still at a profit, whereas here they are in a loss actually. Okay, thanks Nimit for that.
Nishant, I have a question. Yes, you just said that for public sector banks, they will be usually having this net loss, which will be higher. So, is this because of like they are trying to save up or they are trying to make up for the losses or the scams which were happening for other banks? Why are we saying that public sector banks have this more loss?
I don't have an exact answer. I can only guess. So we will see what is there in the other next slides. But basically, what this means is that basically they have made loans to people whom they are not expecting the money to come back.
Well, I mean, just to pitch in, it could be that, I mean, I'm assuming that it could be one is that they could be giving out also loans more easily than private banks, and to some sectors like farming, which have not probably performed as well, and where they are not expecting returns. I mean, this is just my assumption.
No, exactly. You are correct. But by and large, the biggest thing is uh, Bank of Baroda, still the largest shareholder will be Government of India. So basically, somebody calls from the PMO and says, "Boss, usko de do loan," to de dete. That is the biggest problem.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, their bonus and their hike is decided by the government, right? Whatever the largest shareholder says, you do. Okay, next line. And Neha, sorry, I think you are back. Are you able to see the screen now?
Yes, I am able to see the screen.
Okay, cool.
I
Second
think
line, somebody other than Nimit wants to take up and
I
explain it.
think I'll take it. Hello.
Okay, go ahead, Ranjit, right?
Yeah, net interest margin is nothing but it's how much interest the people paid back, and also investments on returns. Maybe some they buy out some malls or they finance some dam or whatever, so it will give some revenue. So the investment returns minus interest paid, and I think average asset, it should be give the what is the net interest margin.
Not really. Basically, so for net interest margin, how it works is the purpose of a bank is to take deposit from depositor and give loan to borrower. So net interest margin of 2.8 means that I paid the depositor 5%, but I charged the uh, uh, borrower 7.8. So that is the difference is known as net interest margin. And
Okay,
for
you
any bank, if the net interest margin is expanding, it's a good sign. So if you
okay.
see from 2019, when they say Q3 2019 in India, it means October, November, December. Because we follow April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, and Jan, Feb, March as Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So for this Bank of Baroda, it has gone up to 2.8 from 2.62, which is good expansion. And here they are saying that in domestic, so they have India and foreign business. In India, it went up from 2.72 to 2.88. So in foreign, it was lower, outside India basically.
Okay.
And domestic cost of deposits in December 2019 is lower by 16 basis points, which means they were paying depositors an average of 5.41 in October, November, December of 2018. And in October, November of 2019, they are paying 5.25. And this will keep going down, by the way, because interest rates are going down everywhere.
So Nishant, can you come again with your last point? You said that in December 2018, they were paying how much? 5.25 plus 0.16, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
1 basis point is 1/100%, or 1% is equal to 100 basis points.
Okay.
EPS is nothing but basis points.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey guys, one thing we discussed on OneNote, right? To put all these glossary items. Is somebody doing that?
Yeah, it's there.
So have you guys shared this?
I'll share it again, but it's there anyway.
Can you make it like a shared document? So say Akash adds 5 words, Ranjit adds 5 words, and Nimit adds 5 words, whatever we discuss. So because see, it will be easy for people to remember. What do you guys think? I think for me, I think it will be good.
Okay. Should we be doing it by sector, or else like normal vocabulary words for each session, whichever we learned?
No, we can do
I
it
think a
sector by
general
sector.
full
So,
glossary. Okay.
so basically, this
Okay,
is
yeah,
more.
fair enough.
These terms are mostly related to banking. So what you see NIM or And Q3, this is constant because everyone will follow. In India, mostly everyone will follow the same. So however you guys want to arrange it, I think that depends on what the group feels. But I feel having something like this will help. So just like a glossary, all the key terms or whatever. Okay. So let's continue. We only have 9 minutes left. So Ranjit, go back to the main slide. So by and large, is everyone okay with this idea? At least to have some kind of terminologies so that it's easy for people. Like just now BPS came. So see, all this information is available, but it is available in different places. So it will be available in one consolidated place. That is the whole purpose. Okay, then third line, somebody wants to go.
I can go with that one.
Okay.
Global advances increased by 2.69, led by retail loans at 15.3. Within retail loans, home loans and home and auto loans grew up by 10 and 43% respectively. Domestic CASA ratio is at 38.8 compared with 37.9 in the last quarter. So the global advances, I understand that it is the global presence it has increased by 2.69%. And then which is led by the retail loans. So in the last sessions you explained that for India especially the retail loans are a beneficial business. So that's what is like seems to be their driving factor. So they focus more on the retail loans. And that's what they have explained, that the retail loans in the home loans, auto loans, etc., they have increased from 10 to 10, increased by 10% and 43% respectively. And then the third point, the domestic CASA ratio. So this is like the current account to the saving account ratio, which you had explained last time. So that is like at 38.8%. So a healthy CASA ratio means also means like a healthy growth of the bank because it has more liquidity on its own. Not exactly like the liquidity, but it has the movement of the money is easier when you have it in the current account. And then yeah.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So thanks for that, Neha. Well explained. So basically, one of the things to highlight here is like in global advances means total loan portfolio increased by only 2.7, but retail loan grew at 15.3, which means the other business has shrunk. So my wholesale business, so when I say wholesale business, lending to large corporates has actually reduced. They have given lesser loans in October, November, and December of 2019 to larger corporates as compared to October, November, December of 2018. But retail part has grown by 15%.
So is it a good news or a bad news, Nishant?
So as Neha explained and as we discussed last time, it is good because retail, the risk is lower because it is distributed across a large number of borrowers, and it is easier to recover from retail guys because the loans will be 40,000, 50,000, 2 lakh, 3 lakh, maximum 20, 30 lakhs for home loan. But for large corporates, if it's a 500 crore account and they stop paying, that's a big hit.
Okay.
So in India, this is what happened. A lot of money was lent to power sector, for example, and then power sector is not making much money. So they are unable to repay. That all money has got stuck. And these are large 50,000 crore loans, which are coal-based power plants and all of that. Mostly given to our dear politicians, friends and family.
Okay. And what about this CASA ratio? So this, I mean, more money in current account is good or more money in saving accounts is good?
CASA is both. It's a combination of current account, saving account. In current account, saving account, they are saying out of total deposit, 37.9 is out of 100, 37.9 was current account, saving account. The rest was FD, whatever else. So recurring deposit, whatever other products the bank might be offering. And in this quarter, it has increased from 37.9 to 38.8, which is healthy. Because the cost of fund for current account is almost zero because they don't pay any interest. And for savings account, it is very minimal, 2 to 3%. Whereas for FD, they pay higher rate. I explained last time, right? Time deposit versus demand deposits. So both current and saving account are known as demand deposit, which means the depositor can demand at any time. Because of that flexibility that the depositor has of demanding at any time, he gets a lower rate of interest, which is good for the bank.
Okay.
And within retail loans, home loan and auto loan has increased by 10 and 43%, which means that auto loan has become a large focus for Bank of Baroda. But now, considering this crisis that we are having, this may not be such a good thing. Because people who took car loans and all, will they be able to repay that? We don't know. That is going to be tricky. And this may not grow. So this was their focus area. But then if you look at the data for Jan, Feb, March 2020, then I don't see we will see 43% growth. The growth may be much lesser because in March, hardly any business happened. And in April, by the way, 0 cars were sold in India. 0 cars and hardly maybe 500 two-wheelers or 1,000 two-wheelers. Whole of India, I'm talking about. That number will be hit big time for the next 1 or 2 quarters. So we only have 3 minutes, so I will cover point number 4, and then I will take questions for the next 2 minutes. This one, if you see, gross NPA ratio is at 10.43. If I remember, HDFC Bank was around 3 or less than 3, somewhere around 3 to 4. And I told you, right, for gross NPA, 3-4% is okay, and net should be below 3. Look at this number. 10.43 is a very, very large number. And it is gone up, which is a very bad sign. Net is also at 4.05, which is higher than the previous quarter. And look at the total amount, 73,000 crores. This is good that they have given the information in one slide. $73,000 crores is their NPA, and that is why they have to provision for this every quarter, because they have to assume that this will not come back. Again, as I said, it is just an assumption. It may come back and later on the profits may get increased. But as of today, they are expecting to lose so much money. So I don't know how much of this has been provisioned. That we can see in the balance sheet how much provision they have created. Okay, I think we are just 1 minute short. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask, and then we will meet tomorrow at the same time, which is 12 p.m. Paris time. And I think still there is some confusion. So let me categorically remind, it is 11 a.m. London time, Saturday and Sunday, which is 12 p.m. Paris time, Saturday and Sunday, which is 3:30 in India, Saturday and Sunday. These are class times. Please, no ambiguity on this. If there is any change, I will let you know 1 day in advance.
Okay.
And usually when I talk, I'm talking in IST, so you guys can calculate your local times.
Just a quick suggestion regarding the glossary with all the terms. I mean, what we could do is probably each one take a turn for each sector, so that, I mean, everybody, one person doesn't need to do the whole thing. And also we could add one column like what should be a good, I don't know, if for instance ratios, what is a good indicator, and just put a kind of a scale and a kind of a comment next to it.
Yeah, I had the same suggestion.
Sounds good to me.
Can anyone create some kind of template here? Maybe you can see my screen, right?
Yeah, I will try and see if I can build a template and see what I can do from my side, and then share it across.
Fine.
Yeah, I'll also add something.
I think you guys can access this document, right?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
I also wanted to ask you, Nishant, that what could be like the also for like what could be something what we can read for the next time, if you can tell us. And also,
Read this document.
okay.
So this is what. So you shared one list, Neha, which all companies we want to review. So we started with Bank of Baroda. Just reviewing one company will take so much time. We will go
ठीक है,
through it one by one. So that
ठीक
was a
है,
good list. That will keep us occupied for many weeks, and then any new term comes up. So this document itself is 71 pages, I believe. Just go through this.
okay. Can you please send this link again? Because I did not read through it. I actually went through money control and read the balance sheet.
No, this link we just shared now. It's here on Skype only.
In the chat.
Just put it again, Ranjit.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Neha, you had some other question. So that answered your first question. Had some other one.
This was the only thing. I mean, I just wanted to understand that what we can read through. So good sites to read, for example, the vocabulary, etc., or some reading material. So some I know.
Just you read through this, and any new term that you come across. See, how I learned is I used to read through all this, okay, but that was like 15 years ago. So any new term that I used to come across, I used to Google it. That is how I learned most of the new terms. A good site for all the new terms is either Wikipedia or Investopedia. In Investopedia, all the terms will be there. So that's a very good reference point. And now new websites might have come, but Investopedia, they have enhanced a lot. So that's a very old site. At least I have been using it for 13, 14 years. So they have a lot of content.
Okay.
So basically the thing is that this document itself is 71 pages. So once you read through it, you will get a lot of new words. And once you learn those words, then next time you are reading the balance sheet of an Axis Bank or something, then it will be much easier for you. Because first time when you are reading, you are like, अरे ये CASA क्या है, ये NIM क्या है, ये BPS क्या होता है. But once you get used to it, then it's like normal. BPS is basis points. One percentage is 100 basis points. So it will be like very fast. Like I'm going through the opposite. I'm trying to learn AWS. I'm trying to take the AWS certification. So for me, those words are very new. So last 1 month, I have completed some. So there is this website called A Cloud Group, quite good. So I have broken my head like anything in last 1 month. But it's interesting to learn something different.
Yeah, and Nishant and guys, one more thing. So since last week we discussed about the HDFC, quarterly or annual report. This time we are doing the Bank of Baroda. Can we, probably next session or next to next session, can we touch upon some other industry as well apart from banking, like some manufacturing industry or some tech space or something, and cover up at least one balance sheet from there or one annual report from there.
Yeah, we can do that, Nimit, but basically we need to complete one, right? Bank of
Yeah,
Baroda,
for sure.
we did 2 pages instead of 71. So basically Neha had shared one list. Did you see that list?
No, not yet.
Neha, do you want to share it again on WhatsApp?
Yes, I will do it. I'll do it. Not a problem.
I think here it is. Yeah. So see, this is the list, Nimit. So I just took the first one. So it had Bank of Baroda. The next one is Apollo Tires, which will be tire.
Okay.
Then Cummins India, I don't know what they do. I think it's in infra something. I need to check. Tata Steel, IRB Infra, JSPL is Jindal, Natco Pharma, Shriram Transport Finance.
Cummins India is basically they manufacture engines.
Which one?
Key supplier. Cummins India, they manufacture engines, basically key components for auto supplies. Or their core business is manufacturing engines, generators, those type of products.
I think in India they are doing power gen also.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So I think maybe they are making those boilers and all.
Boilers, electric generators and stuff like that.
Cool. So then we have Shriram Transport Finance, Goa Carbon, Berkshire Lifestyle, Apollo Pipes, JK Cement, India Cement, NHPC, Torrent Pharma, Oberoi Retail, Reality, Titan. So we have got almost all the industries covered here. But if you guys want some other company to be reviewed, feel free. But my only thing is, in 1 hour, if we are doing only 3 pages, how long will we take to cover those 71 pages of Bank of Baroda?
We could be better prepared next time.
No, but some guys are not even opening their mouth, which means they are very new to this topic. So we need to give them also some hands up. So guys, can you also help me? I think Nimit and Neha also, maybe even Ranjit and Akash to some extent. Some of you guys are little up the curve. Maybe can you guys set up half an hour, 1 hour with Sandeep
sure.
and some of these guys to help them like kind of get up to speed on some terms?
Sure.
Okay, so you guys can connect one-to-one.
Mhm.
And guys, for whom these topics are little new, please feel free to reach out to these guys, because that is how everyone will get up to speed. It will take 3-4 weeks. That's okay. And you can also reach out to me if you want, like starting like 1 hour to get the refresher, kind of get the basics.
What I will do is I just got the link for the previous sessions. I will just go through all the previous sessions and then contact either of you to if to clarify points, or and then I can plan a session of other than this.
Sure. So we will meet tomorrow.
Okay.
Then. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Guys, please be stay in the call if you want to know about Nasdaq.
I can stay.
Sure.
Excuse me.